So, we've made it to the end of 2019 and it's time to look at the top 10 worst, most disappointing, most surprising and best movies of the year. So this video is going to be looking at my top 10 worst movies of the year, the movies that I absolutely hated, that I wanted to walk out of the cinema or just stop watching. So I'm kind of excited to look back at these, but also these bring back some painful memories from just unfortunate times. So we're about to hop into it. Before I start, leave in the comments below your top 10, top 5, top 3, just least favourite movie of the year. My list isn't going to be the same as your list because I have very different opinions, especially to a lot of people, I've noticed, and some movies that you absolutely love might be here. So this is my opinion. This isn't the worst movies of the year objectively. This is what I think were the worst movies. The movies that I didn't like, movies that I didn't want to keep watching this year. So hopefully you guys can not get angry at me during this video, but anyway, we're just gonna hop right into it and look at the top 10 worst movies of 2019. So, coming in at number 10 is Velvet Buzzsaw. This was the first horror movie I saw this year, so I was kind of nervous about going into it. This is a Netflix original movie about the world of art. I'm not going to go into too many spoilers because I think the movie works best if you do want to see it, if you have absolutely no idea what's going on. But if you like movies that are kind of just insulting modern art, then I think you'll really enjoy this, because that's where I got most of my enjoyment. I should say that most of the movies, probably the first 6 movies on this list, aren't movies I actually thought were bad. They're just movies that I didn't really enjoy. Only the top 4 movies on this list I actually didn't enjoy, and I'm going to actively try to never watch again. If I was at a friend's house and they wanted to watch a horror movie and put on Velvet Buzzsaw, I would be fine with it. There were some funny and some kind of scary moments in the movie, but as a horror movie, it's not really that scary. It probably works more as a comedy, which isn't what you want in a horror movie. Also, it doesn't really make much sense, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to horror movies, because I don't think horror movies really need to explain exactly what's going on, unless they can do it really well, like in movies like Us. But Velvet Buzzsaw didn't manage to be super disappointing the whole time, but it also never caught my attention, never actually seemed super fun. Actually, the most interesting part of this movie to me wasn't even in the movie. About a week after watching it, Jake Gyllenhaal's in this. I had a dream that I met Jake Gyllenhaal, and he was talking about this movie, and I said I'd never heard of it before, and he got really, really angry at me. That was the most entertaining thing about this movie. So, if you like horror movies, you probably might enjoy watching this, but just in general, it was kind of a boring movie that didn't really know what it was doing. Coming in at number 9 is See You Yesterday. This is another Netflix original movie. Actually, every single movie on this list, apart from the bottom 2, are Netflix originals, so that kind of gives you an idea of where I thought Netflix originals were this year. This is a movie that I was really surprised made the top 10 worst movies list. See You Yesterday. I kind of enjoyed this movie when I was watching it. I thought it was okay enough. It's about racism and cop shootings and also time travel, and it kind of puts time travel into it really seamlessly, and I really enjoyed that part of the story. But main problem is the protagonist makes a lot of really stupid decisions that kind of jeopardize the whole rest of the movie and make it a lot harder to enjoy, because if they were making better decisions, it wouldn't be as difficult to go through this and to watch the movie, and it wouldn't be painful to watch it. It was still really enjoyable, and I'd recommend it to probably a lot of people, and I think it's a good movie overall, but it's just, looking back on it and the decisions that the main characters made kind of make it a lot harder to just enjoy it in general. Coming in at number 8 is Fire. This movie is very different from every other movie on the list, because this is actually a documentary of something that happened. All the other movies I actually watched this year were storytelling movies, so this one definitely stands out, and I thought it could have been so much better. If you didn't know what the Fire Festival was, it was launched by this company called Fire to try to publicize their new app that they were making, and it had a bunch of really famous people going, but when it happened, it was an absolute catastrophe. And I thought it could have been really entertaining if we watched this, and it showed us more of the actual catastrophe of the Fire Festival. But the majority of this is going through how the catastrophe came to be, and what happened afterwards. And the actual part that he wanted only took about 10 minutes of footage in this movie, and that was just kind of disappointing from what I actually wanted to see. It's still entertaining, and it was cool to learn about this kind of stuff, but I just thought it could have been so much better, and it was kind of disappointing. but it did not make my top 10 most disappointing movies of the year. It only made the top 10 worst. At number 7 is The Highwaymen. This is kind of a movie that I didn't want to put on the list because it was, like Fire, it was really disappointing. The Highwaymen is a movie about the people who went after Bonnie and Clyde and how they did that. And if it was advertised as that, I think I would have enjoyed it more. There is one monologue at the end that makes it better than the other 6 movies on the list, because it's by Woody Harrelson and it's absolutely amazing. But it was advertised as this action movie, a lot of triple frontier, where the characters would be going through this forest and get into a gunfight. But really, most of the movie is just them tracking Bonnie and Clyde and going through what actually happened. It's like a gritty retelling of the actual people who tracked down Bonnie and Clyde. When I wanted it to be more action-packed, there's only like 2 or 3 action sequences in the movie, and the end is kind of lackluster, but that's what actually happened, so I kind of feel bad putting it here on the list. But because I wanted it to be a completely different movie, I just was disappointed, and I didn't really enjoy this movie as much as I could have, because the advertising kind of ruined it for me. But it was a Woody Harrelson movie, and I really enjoy him as an actor, so I couldn't really get super annoyed at it throughout the whole thing. Coming in at number 6 is Isn't It Romantic? This movie actually came out on my birthday this year, and I thought, like Highwaymen and Fire, it could have been a lot better. The plot of the movie is somebody who absolutely hates rom-coms is transported into a rom-com, and I think it could have played with that idea a lot better. The characters just feel a bit disappointing, that the whole thing, like, there's no real character development apart from the main protagonist, when a lot of other characters could have been more developed, and plot twists near the end of the movie are kind of overshadowed by things that make it so they don't make sense early on in the movie. And as a comedy, it's not that funny. A lot of Netflix's comedies just weren't at all funny to me this year. So I think Rebel Wilson, who stars in this movie, is the most entertaining part of it, and there's a pretty cool song and dance number earlier in the movie, but really it's just kind of a disappointing movie because it had great potential for what it was, which is a common theme through a lot of these movies, but it just didn't really stick the landing. Coming in at number 5 is The Last Laugh. In this movie, Chevy Chase plays a retired agent to a stand-up comedian, and they decide to go on the road one last time. This movie wasn't funny in the slightest. I only laughed once during the whole thing, and for a movie that is based around stand-up comedy, I definitely should have been laughing more times. Also, the one laugh that I had was near the beginning, and it was kind of a sympathy laugh. I've heard from other people who watch the movie that, oh, you'll enjoy it when you're older, because it's about growing old. So maybe I'll enjoy it when I'm older, but I just don't think this movie's memorable enough to come back to. When I was making my ranking of all the movies this year, I just thought, oh yeah, Last Laugh was a thing. And that kind of sums up what this movie feels like. It's kind of lackluster and not thrilling or gripping at all. So before we jump into the top 4, I should say again that the past 6 movies, they're all movies that I could probably enjoy if somebody was saying, hey, why don't we watch this movie? I've really wanted to watch it for a while. These next 4 movies were the really bad movies of the year. These are the movies that I just wanted to, I was so bored by, or I just wanted to switch off, or one of them actually made me actively really angry to watch it. So coming in at number 4 is Look Away. This is a Netflix original horror movie that I don't think very many people saw. The plot of the movie is that a girl is being bullied by everyone around her, and her reflection is this psychopath who really wants to come out and just attack everyone who's ever wronged them. So by that premise of the movie, I should have loved it. I adore movies which is, oh, there are all these super bad people who know likes and doing all these bad things. Here's this badass, they come in and destroy all of them. I should have adored this movie, but it's just so disappointing the way they went through it. The characters who you want to see die or you want to see hurt are not hurt, and they don't die. But the characters who you kind of want to see survive or kind of want to see go through growth or interesting plot points are just killed off or ignored throughout the story. So that makes it really disappointing because the potential for this was to be so good. I can kind of see what the filmmaker was going for by making this movie, because they wanted this movie to be more interesting and not go with exactly what the audience wanted. They wanted to subvert expectations. But this wasn't it. This wasn't how you subvert expectations for this kind of movie. The thing that saved it from being any lower on the list was at the end, it kind of leaves this open-ended ending that you don't really know exactly what's going on, and there's a little room of guessing work. And I like that in movies. I like movies that leave it open-ended, and I think they set up how the mirrors work in a really compelling way. But with good setup, they just didn't stick the landing, and a movie that could have been so good, probably in my top 10, just was a complete disaster by the end. Coming in at number 3, I should say this is the worst Netflix original movie of the whole year, is Io. I have talked about how much I dislike Io to everyone this year. If anyone says, oh, Owen, what movies shouldn't I watch? Or what was your worst movie of the year? I normally jump to Io, because a lot of people did kind of like the top 2 movies on this list. But Io was just, I didn't have any expectations going into it, but it was still so disappointing. The plot of the movie is the Earth has been destroyed by environmental damage, and everyone's gone off to this other planet, and a few people who are still on Earth are kind of living in denial, and the whole movie takes place basically in this one house on a hill. It's got Anthony Mackie and someone else who I don't actually know, but the movie is just boring. It could have been playing with this cool concept and had some really intense moments, but it didn't. It spends its entire time stuck in this little shack, which some Netflix originals have movies a lot like this, but really well. Like I Am Mother, which I will talk about in a different video, was really, really good, and it kind of played with almost exactly the same concept as Io. But there's so much silence in the movie. That's what kind of ruined it. And there's not silence for the sake of building atmosphere or tension. It's just silence like the actors didn't know what their lines were and were just improvising, and then no one said, okay, let's run that again. The movie is just so boring, and I don't enjoy it at all. I never want to see this movie again. The one thing, though, I feel like I should say this, because the top 2 movies on the list have something in common that Io doesn't, and I just want to say that Io does deserve some praise for being original. It's in a genre that's been used before, but it's still telling a story that hasn't been told before in this way. These characters haven't been used before. The top 2 movies on this list are both Disney live-action remakes. But Io at least tried to be original with what it was doing, way more than the top 2 movies on the list. And I can respect Io for that, even though I never want to see the movie again. And that's the only positive thing you're ever going to hear me say about that movie. And our runner-up for the worst movie of 2019 is Dumbo. This was the most painful cinema experience I have ever had. Over the, I think it was summer or winter, I don't remember exactly. I think it was the summer, when this movie came out, I went to see 3 movies with my grandma over 3 different days because my parents were working and I want to hang out with my grandparents. So the first movie was Missing Link, that was good. Then Shazam, that was good. And then we saw Dumbo, and that was just, it's so painful to watch. The original movie is really, really good. It's not perfect, but it didn't need to be remade. This movie gets rid of the best aspect of the original. The racism. That's a joke. That is a joke. I just want to specify that's a joke. The racism is really, really bad. But really, the best aspect of the original is the fact that Dumbo doesn't fly till the final 3 minutes of the plot. In this one, Dumbo flies probably within 3 minutes of getting introduced to the story. And the only thing that kind of saves it is it was at least trying to be a little bit original. The movie's trying to retell the original Dumbo as well as cram in a sequel, and that just didn't work. It was too much to try to come in. So that means the actual villain of the story that they're trying to show us doesn't appear till around halfway through. The only good character in this movie is Danny DeVito, and that's because Danny DeVito raises the quality of any movie he's in simply by existing in it. But really, this movie was just, it didn't need to be made, and it was done poorly. It was way too over-edited. The everything looked really bad and really just forced through a computer, I guess would be the best way to put it. The ending plot seemed needlessly complicated. There's way too much needless drama. There's a whole plot point trying to add a romantic thing. It focuses way more in on the humans in the plot than Dumbo, and Dumbo is just a character that doesn't need to be focused on more, but just actually needs to be the main character instead of just a thrilling side character. It's called Dumbo, not a bunch of humans deal with war, tragedies, and loss. That's not the kind of movie that we need to see. If you wanted to make a Dumbo sequel, make a sequel to Dumbo years later. Don't remake the original and try to cram in a sequel. Making a sequel probably would have been better and not even made the top 10 worst movies of 2019. Sequels can come out years later and still be fine. I can't think of an example right now, but I'm sure it's possible. But coming in at number 1, hands down, the worst movie of 2019, probably worse than a lot of other movies this decade, was The Lion King 2019. Dumbo at least tried a little bit to be original. This was the most blatant cash grab I have ever seen. It is a shot-for-shot remake of the original. Absolutely nothing new is added apart from one song. The only forgivable aspect of this movie is that Beyonce and Donald Glover sing a duet of Can You Feel the Love Tonight. That was cool. I liked that. The rest of the movie is just so disappointing. The original Lion King is one of the greatest animated movies of all time. It did not need to be remade exactly the same. This movie adds pretty much nothing new apart from that song. It's just a blatant cash grab. It annoys me because people are playing off everyone's nostalgia and love for the original, and nobody's talking about this enough. They're just playing us here. They're just making remakes of these movies that don't need remakes. I haven't seen Aladdin. People have said that it actually adds to the original, so I guess I'm going to leave Aladdin off. Don't go see Disney live-action remakes if they're exact remakes. If there's something like Maleficent that's focusing on a new character, fine, go see it. Maleficent's a fine movie. But this just was so unnecessary, and it's nowhere near as good as the original. The characters look the exact same. During the final battle, it was all dark and it was just CGI lions. I couldn't tell if it was the hero or the villain winning. Just show us some color or something. This is meant to be a remake to show how CGI and different things have improved, but it just looked so bad. Have you seen the image of Simba yelling in the new one versus the original? Because that sums this up. In the original, he is filled with shock and horror. In this new one, it looks like a baby cat who's just had its milk bowl taken away. That's what it looks like. There's absolutely no reason to watch this movie. I hate it so much. I'm never going to go see another Disney live-action remake. And the thing that annoys me most is this movie has been nominated for Oscars. I'm not kidding when I say I would rather Cats win every single Oscar this year instead of Lion King winning one, because it does not deserve to win a single Oscar. This movie does not deserve any recognition. It is not doing anything new. It's not art. It is a blatant cash grab. Okay, I'm getting too annoyed. I'm getting way too fired up about just a movie about talking lions. I need to calm down. Anyway, these are my top 10 worst movies of the year. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will see you all tomorrow for the top 10 most disappointing movies of the year, which I won't be getting as angry at, because there's still some disappointing movies I saw this year that I really liked. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching this episode. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.